Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Your Money, where we are working to help you earn money, save money, and protect your money. And we've spent a lot of time over the last several months getting you ready for tax season. And that date is approaching very quickly. And we've covered a lot of ground. So right now, I'm going to give the tax preparers, the CPAs, a little bit of a break because I heard they might be a little busy right now. And we're going to talk about another seasonal issue that a lot of you might be dealing with right now. Maybe you're looking to buy or sell a home. And in Your Money, we talk a lot about saving money and earning money and protecting your money. For a lot of you, the biggest investment that you're going to make is your own home. You put money in it for, say, 30 years, and then it's time to sell, and you can use that as a nest egg from which you can retire. So it's a huge, huge purchase in your life. And I wanted to bring in an expert to talk about how you go about making that buy. But then I want to fast forward halfway through the conversation and then talk about how you make that sell, how you make sure that you get what you want from the house that you are offloading. So with that, I want to introduce to you Bram Bianchi. He's a realtor with Howard Hanna. Bram, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Adam. Thank you for having me.
So this is the season, right? When's the official, when you prepare for this, like probably CPAs prepare for April 15th, when does it really start to pick up for you?
So typically right after the holidays, we start getting into what we call the spring selling and buying season, if you will. You're absolutely right. The largest investment that the average person makes is their home. So it's very important to take the proper steps and get the best results you can.
Yeah. So is it just because of the season? People, obviously winter's tough to get around. Homes don't show that well. Is spring basically partly because of the weather, but is there another reason why we see so many homes hit the market at this time of year?
So timing, if you will, is a big factor. When you look at, okay, if we want to start moving and get in by a certain season, may it be summertime, may it be start of school in September. So it's taking in the vicinity of 3, 4, 5 months or longer at this point with the market currently in the Rochester area to secure your property. So getting started as early as you can comfortably is very important in today's market.
That's a great point. So before we get into advice for buyers and sellers, why don't we just go over what does the market look like right now?
So the Rochester market, New York in particular, we've been rated in the top 5 the last several years running throughout the whole United States. Primarily, our affordability index has been very attractive to other parts of the nation, bigger markets, more expensive markets. So when they look at Rochester and they look at all the factors, they're looking at travel, commute times, they're looking at education, they're looking at job opportunities, cost of homes, natural resources. We stack up very well against other markets. So very attractive, which is causing the market to be a very competitive market.
As competitive as we saw a couple of years ago, obviously things were through the roof for you and all other realtors out there where you couldn't even keep a home on the market if you wanted to. Has it slowed down a little bit?
No, not necessarily. There's still a great demand for homes. Actually, right now in Rochester, I did some early statistics this morning, and in the Rochester market, Monroe County, there's approximately 300 homes available. That's throughout all of Monroe County.
That doesn't seem like a lot.
Listings, absolutely. We're in need of inventory. City of Rochester, it's hovering around 104 active single-family homes available. So not a lot of inventory, which is causing what we call, quote unquote, a seller's market. Buyers very competitive, trying to secure their property.
Yeah. What do mortgage rates look like right now?
So conventional fixed rate mortgage is hovering around the 6.5% interest rate, and government loans, FHA, VA, slightly lower. That's pretty much been the steady number for the last year.
Yeah, and that's gone up a little bit. Obviously, a decade ago it was much lower, but it's certainly not what we saw, in the 70s and 80s.
And also with the COVID epidemic that we experienced when they brought interest rates down to anywhere from 2.7% to 3%, a lot of people refinanced their homes or bought at that point. So that's causing a lock in the market from a standpoint of people that have interest rates on their current home at that level to look at, well, if I sell and if I purchase, I'm going to be going from 2.75 to 6% or so. It's really, an increase in monthly payment. So that's what's causing a holdback on people wanting to get their homes on the market to sell. Granted, they're selling at record prices and levels in our area, but again, there's a big void and difference in monthly payment with the interest rate.
It's so interesting. When I first moved back to Rochester, and there's going to be folks watching this in Albany and Syracuse and Buffalo, and I think this holds true for them as well. In 2011, we were known, especially upstate New York in general, steady Eddie. We didn't see the highs and the lows that the national market saw. And I think I get the impression, and this is why I brought you here to correct me if I'm wrong, that leading up to COVID, but definitely the pandemic kind of changed that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are considered a very value oriented investment. We have a steady appreciation rate that we haven't had that 20-30% other markets had. But then again, we typically don't drop down in the back direction. We are playing catch up in our area.
Yeah.
So values that were lower, we had some dynamics back in the day when there were a lot of layoffs in our community. And now we've had a lot of different companies that have grown very nicely and such that the economic, platform is very steady.
All right, so we're going to hit the buyers first, which is probably the more difficult position to be in right now. If a couple were to come to you or someone single looking to buy a home, what do you tell them?
So step one, get a pre-approval. If you are going to be financing, get a pre-approval. A local pre-approval is very much encouraged. You don't want to go alone and just try to go online and put some numbers into a system, because if you make a mistake or something's overlooked, it could cause an issue with you getting the granted mortgage that you need at the end of the day. So getting your local pre-approval, getting connected with a professional will help, because there's a lot of steps in the process of buying and selling a home today. I highly recommend having those done.
How long does a pre-approval take? Because some people, it may be maybe they're moving into the area and they need a house as soon as possible.
So getting a mortgage pre-approval, it could depend on the individual. Is it a person that works for an employer that will get their verification in, they have their tax returns all prepared? That can go very quickly. Let's say 1 or 2 weeks at the most. Some institutions can turn it around quicker than that. If it's someone that's self-employed, let's say you own a lot of different properties and your tax returns are very complicated, you want an expert to go through that and really get the dynamics of, okay, this is what your maximum mortgage amount would be qualified for.
Yeah. And so what do you recommend? Obviously, you can't say, oh, go to this bank or go to that bank, but like when you are looking to get a mortgage, what should you consider as you look at the field of folks who could supply it?
So again, I stress a local institution. This way, if there's any questions, it's readily accessible.
Yeah.
You can stop in, you can, get a verification, get a response, and you're working with a professional that's, has some brick and mortar in our area.
Yeah.
And it's looked at favorably when a seller's looking at different offers, because they want to go with the most secure purchase offer and the credentials that the purchaser brings to the table.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of us, of course, watch the HGTV stuff. So, we kind of have an idea of what some of the general advice is out there. But let's say you're pre-approved and now they sit down with you or their realtor because they went to get a professional. What guidance do you offer them if they say, here's what we make in a year, here's what we want in a home? How do you even start that conversation with them?
So again, go to a professional.
Yeah.
I don't really, as a realtor, get into the financing of, okay, how much do you make and what's your monthly payment, what credit cards do you have? You send that person to the professionals that do that type of work, which is your mortgage banker in pre-approval process.
Gotcha. Okay. And they'll be able to kind of guide you and say,
best
this
advice.
Because you don't want to be, when people say that, what do they say, home poor? What does that mean?
Well, you overextending yourself, because there's a lot of factors that go into your monthly payment. You have your mortgage interest, your actual payment P&I, you got home insurance, you got property taxes, and keep in mind those things could change. For example, if a home has got a assessed value of $100,000 and at the point of sale you pay $150,000, when the town assessor redoes their property tax roll and your taxes go up, that's going to affect your monthly payment. So your escrow could change. So you want to be careful of how much you're actually going to be exposed to. Homeowners insurances typically have been going up because of all the catastrophes that happen nationwide. So you got to look at what you're really comfortable. Make a budget, what your utilities could be, what repairs are going to be needed potentially in the house as well, and budget for all of that. This way you're protected. You're not overextending yourself.
Yeah, and then heating the home too, and supplying the electricity. So they come to you with a budget and they say, this is what I want. In today's market, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they obviously could have gotten more. What should they be prepared for when they hit the market if perhaps their dreams are outrunning their budget?
Expectations. That's a good point, Adam. Really getting your expectations in line with your budget and what the market offers. If I could just share with you for
Please.
an example on a property that for a customer of mine that I had an offer placed on. It was very competitive. They had over 60 showings on this home in Monroe County, and they had 19 offers. There were 13 offers that had conventional financing. 3 offers were cash guaranteed by a lender. One offer was a cash offer. 3 of them were FHA. And everything with the offer, as far as the deposit was concerned, is looked at from the seller as well. They had deposits that were full price. In other words, this particular home, they offered it at $199,000. Someone said, "I will give you a check for $199,000, and you can hold that until closing." That's an earnest money deposit. Contingencies, no contingencies, waiving all inspections. That's how competitive the market is. At the end of the day, they actually had the offer that was accepted was over asking price. Keep in mind, the property was assessed for $103,000, listed at $199,000, and it sold for over asking price.
Wow.
So that's what I'm talking about with expectations.
Yeah.
With the market the way it is, homes are selling over asking price very competitively.
Yeah, very, very frustrating for a lot of buyers, of
Yes.
course. And we've done a couple stories where, you forego the inspection and then there's big problems down the line. I mean, that's got to be a difficult conversation between realtors and their buyers because, you want them to get a house that doesn't have any snake bites.
I call it managing risk expectations.
Okay.
So yes, getting your eyes on the prize, as we say it, and being very careful on, because there's so many components to a home today, everything from foundation to roof to structure, cosmetics. So just buyer beware, be very careful, because that is the market conditions in our area, that most of the offers have waiving of home inspections.
Wow. What do you say to buyers in those situations?
Be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And now, do some real estate agents, especially those who have been around a while, can at least they give it an eyeball look and say, well, this is a concerning feature? Or...
Yes, but that's really not the role of, they're not an expert,
Right.
An engineer or a property inspector. Again, that's the professional that you would want to rely on for good eyes on the prize.
Yeah. Now, is there any potential, let's say, obviously an inspection could find, some small issues. If there's a huge issue, is there still a responsibility on the seller to disclose that?
So a seller does have to fill out in New York State a property condition disclosure, which does answer a lot of questions. Everything to for example, is there flooding on the property, standing water? Are there any known asbestos, lead issues, et cetera? So there is a disclosure that is required unless it's an estate sale.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know, because then at least then there's some responsibility if something major goes wrong. How quickly are the closings happening now?
Anywhere from 30 to 60 days, conventional closings.
Okay, so you got to move pretty fast at this point. What are the hot areas right now or is it just all the
Across the
entire
board?
county?
Across the board, with the lack of supply across the board, there's big demand, and it's just moving quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, and then when it comes to the sellers, so you're ready to sell, it's a hot market. What do they have to do to prepare for this?
I always say, prepare your house like your mother or your mother-in-law's coming over for a visit.
Okay.
Your basic cleaning, decluttering, depersonalizing, do your fix-its, your honey-do list, that leaky faucet, get your house in the best possible shape. And what I encourage is have a professional of your choice come over, a realtor, do a pre-walkthrough, have them give you some advice on staging of your home, what needs to be done, a must-do, a list of this would be really nice to do, and then do the best you can to get it on the market when you and the house is ready to show.
Yeah. Do you ever have any clients that once they do all that, they go, wait, why are we moving?
Oh yes, absolutely, honey. Why didn't you do this? A long time ago. I think we'll stay now. I have had it happen.
Really? Oh my! And they actually did stay?
No, they decided to move forward
Oh, okay.
after all that work.
Exactly, exactly. So, do they have to have anything ready for a bank or anything like that? Like, how do they handle this as a seller?
So when let's say a mortgage is placed, the bank is going to send an appraiser out to look at the house. So they're going to look at the value of the house and make sure that overall there's no major concerns as far as defects that could be a real
Right.
problem for a lender. Mhm.
Yeah, and so do they have to get a bank involved on their end to have an account ready to go that would accept the money and all that?
What do you mean by that?
Like, so obviously there's a huge amount of money. So I have a checking account. I mean, is that all I need, or do you have to have a special account to kind of handle that influx of money? Especially if you paid off your mortgage and this is suddenly going to be a windfall for you.
So the seller is going to receive proceeds at closing, correct?
Proceeds,
So
correct,
At
yeah.
that point, typically, they're going to get a check, and that check would be deposited, or it's going to get forwarded to the next closing on their purchase.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So it's not like you're going to pick up a suitcase of cash typically at closing.
Right. And a real estate agent, you're not there to do the closing paperwork. You would need a separate attorney to do that for both parties.
Yes. You have a buyer's attorney, a seller's attorney, and the lender's attorney at a closing.
And then let's say you do have a good amount of interest. How do you set that up? So now you have a bidding war, let's say. How does that work from a seller's standpoint?
Seller is going to evaluate all of the offers at one point, and they're going to pick the best offer that they're most comfortable with. They're going to look at terms, they're going to look at closing date, they're going to look at what the buyer's asking for as far as what's to be included in the purchase of their home and sale, as well as price.
Yeah.
And they're going to pick the highest and best offer with all of those factors in mind.
Does it help at all? I remember the days when you used to write a letter. Do people still do that?
Well, at this point, a letter is not considered appropriate as
Really?
far as submitting to the owner.
Really?
It's actually against the law.
No kidding. What was that a change?
Yes, yes.
Wow. I didn't know. I knew there were some changes.
Well, it could get into a discriminatory practice, and we do have
interesting.
anti-discrimination laws that we have to abide by as professionals, as well as disclosure of agency. Who's representing whom?
Yeah.
Is this the agent of the buyer? Is this the agent of the seller? Is the agent acting as a dual agent? So it's full disclosure in this market, which is very appropriate.
Yeah, very interesting. I didn't know that. So obviously, of some sellers, you see the for sale by owner signs out there. What's the difference between trying to do it yourself and trying to do it through a real estate agent?
Well, not so much at this market because from a seller's perspective, they want the competition and they want to reach out to the worldwide audience.
Right.
So having the ability to have their market exposed on the internet through all of the vehicles, all of the different portals, if you will, and having agents who have pre-approved buyers that are qualified to purchase, they want that, let's say, inventory brought to their forefront. Whereas as a for sale by owner, if you're just putting a sign out in front of your house, you're hoping that someone drives by or tells someone about the house instead of people that are searching for a home, which, your home search today is more internet driven.
Yeah, it is interesting. And then does it make the process more complicated if you're doing it by yourself?
So in New York State, when we have so many different, let's say, I guess documentation, this is just an example here of a purchase offer that I have, it's 27 pages long.
Right. That's what I'm
Trying to
talking about.
navigate
Yeah.
that as your first time would be quite a chore.
Yeah.
So
I would be
having a
very
professional,
yeah.
an attorney representing both buyer and seller is very important in this market.
Yeah, as I noted up top, Bram, we've spoken with a lot of CPAs over the last few months, and I say, listen, I don't want to send you down a road where you have to pay $600 for to get your taxes done, especially if they're simple. But for me, I've always worried about missing something. The last thing you want is to discover something down the road that you just didn't know about.
One mistake could foil a transaction, and then everybody has to rekindle, start over. You could end up with loss of earnest money deposits and whatnot. So having a transaction handled, let's say efficiently, professionally, is very, very important.
So again, sticking with the sellers here, it can get complicated, right? This is not always an easy thing. The buyers might find an issue and they say, we need this issue fixed before we're going to buy the house. What's your recommendation to sellers in that moment? Because there's probably a lot of emotion involved because they want to buy, they might have a house that they've put an offer in. I mean, there's a lot of timing things, a domino effect. In that moment, what advice do you offer the seller?
Well, from a seller's point of view, getting your home ready and correcting any, let's say, issues that would be a concern to a buyer is very important to do that, prior to putting the house on the market. Take care of any issues. Let's say there's a gutter that's falling off your house or you have missing shingles. Having all of those things taken care of is going to make it for a much, much smoother transaction. So highly encourage a seller to prepare for selling in advance of showing the house.
Right.
Because if a buyer comes through and notices this, and that, they're going to estimate more towards the expensive side to fix than a shorter side, because at the end of the day, if they have to assume that risk, they're going to have that those funds and that money to take care of it. So they're not going to want to short themselves, if you will, on cost.
Yeah.
So taking care of business in advance is what my recommendation would be for a seller.
Yeah. And then if you do get stuck, patience, I suppose, because it's part of the ordeal. So it's so interesting to me that we have a shortage of homes, because wherever I go, I drive through Henrietta, I drive through Greece, Fairport, I just see developments going up. It's just so interesting to me that there remains this high demand in the community.
We do have high demand, very much so. And speaking about developments, the builders are putting inventory on the market right now for those that are seeking opportunities to own a home, which definitely helps adding to our inventory base. So the Rochester Home Builders Association have been very proactive in trying to get things moving forward with having it streamlined as much as possible, getting from starting of raw land development to actual putting structures up on the market to add to our inventory base, which is very much needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't help but think, I know this, I feel like I'm the only one shouting this, but I know Micron is in Clay, New York, which is just north of Syracuse. But if their projections come true, which is always a big question mark, you're talking about tens of thousands of people potentially moving into our area. And suddenly Wayne County might become fairly, it's not that, suddenly your commute's 40 minutes. People can do that. I'm very interested to see what Micron does to our area.
Well, anytime a company expands, it brings in opportunity, right? Job opportunity. And then with that being said, people want to reside in the area of their employment. So it's going to be definitely interesting.
Yeah. Are townhomes, Bram, a legitimate way to potentially save, where you might get the amenities you might want, get in the school district you might want to get into, but are you paying the same as you would if you were getting a single home?
Well, everything's a function of cost and size, if you will.
Yeah.
So regardless if it's 1,000 square foot or a 2,000 square foot home, the larger that the home is from a construction cost standpoint, the more it's going to be as far as price is concerned. So will that bring in some opportunities? Yes, because typically with townhomes that are attached, you can get more density per acre. So it will bring in more units for people and homes to occupy.
Yeah.
Cost, once again, it's a function of size. It's a cost function of what the lot and the land cost, the area, location, utilities. So it's a big, let's say, I guess the word would be equation.
Yeah, no, that's true. So when you're a buyer and you go to look at a house, one thing that I always thought about is make sure the bones are good, and then if you need different renovations, like, well, this room is out of date. Do you ever say like, well, that could be fixed later on? We've been looking at homes that might have more amenities, but it's smaller. Let's say it's too small for you. You can't fix that unless you want to build a giant addition, or you might not even be able to do that. I mean, are these things to consider where you might not get everything you want, but look for things that you can at least change down the road?
Yes, being that cosmetics can be changed in a short period of time, right? What's it take to paint the room? Maybe 1 or 2 days. Adding an addition may take 3 months or 6 months. And then you bring up a good point. Can it be done? You've got setbacks that you have to be concerned about if you want to put an addition on, if you want to add a pool to a property. So you may find a perfect house, doesn't have that pool that you want. Can I add it? Well, you need to do your due diligence to make sure that if that's the case, it can be done.
Yeah.
If the house has a septic system in the backyard, you're not going to put a pool over your septic system, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got to know about that stuff.
Trade-offs.
Exactly, and that's the key. Or if your wife wants backyard chickens, you got to know about the
ordinances.
Exactly, ordinances. Exactly. So, Bram, any last piece of advice as we venture into the warmer months when the buyers and sellers will be out and about in full force here?
Be patient. Yes, be prepared, be patient, and trust your advisors, your professionals that are on your team to help you guide you through the process. That's my advice for the day on that.
All right. Bram Bianchi, a realtor with Howard Hanna, has been in the market and doing this for a number of years. I won't give the years away. I don't want to.
43.
No, there you go.
Still going strong.
All right, very good. I didn't want to throw it out there, but we really thank you for making the time and providing 43 years of advice for folks in this very tempestuous market.
Thank you, Adam.
All right.
My pleasure.
Of course. Bram Bianchi, again, we want to thank him. And obviously, if you're venturing into town, do your homework, find a good realtor for you. And we hope that will help you to save your money and protect your money as we move forward in this wild world. With that, thank you so much for watching another edition of Your Money. We wish you well, and please tell your friends and family about the Rochester First app. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.